Good morning.
Good
And
morning.
how are you?
Fabulous.
Good morning.
Good
Fantastic.
morning. Good
Fantastic.
morning.
Well, how about technology? Now we can just get things done and get them done quickly and be done with it. So,
Yep.
my name is Leandria Thompson. I am the chairwoman, president, and CEO of Tri County Regional Black Chamber of Commerce in actually the Southern District of Texas. We serve 12 counties. So as you can see, there's a large number of representatives, elected officials, senators for the state of Texas that will be serving our constituents. And so we sent this information. We requested for you to be a part of our town hall meeting so that we could get a little bit more information. We do survey our members. We get information from them. We know the legislation is coming back this coming January, our 88th legislation. And then before I get to rattling on, I want to introduce Miss Angela Curry. And Miss Curry is a vice president of Region 2, which includes Galveston County, Fort Bend, and Brazoria counties. However, she's also the chair of our advisory board. And of course, we have an advisory board for a reason. We don't just call people advisory board members. Our advisory board are people who are in the different communities and they get the info, they hear the stories. They speak with the members of the chamber who, this is a chamber of commerce. So all of our members are small businesses. We do have larger companies that are supporters and work with our small businesses in helping them to develop and grow their businesses. So, however, we are aware that legislative work is being done prior to
Good.
January,
Yes.
and we may be a little behind. We have determined our positions, and we know that we still have some questions that our members are asking that we are wanting to hear from you. You're going to get those questions. We're going to tell you what our three positions that we feel very strongly about, that we are looking to see what kind of legislation can be done to support those. One of those, or the first one rather, is reciprocity throughout the state for the minority business enterprises certifications. We know that there are certifying agencies, like I think there's 6 of them. And if you are certified in the city of Dallas as a minority business enterprise, you are not, that certification has not been accepted in Houston. And we understand the certification in Houston is not being accepted in Dallas. However, we have people who are moving to the city and go through the whole process again. So if there's some process or method that can be used to where reciprocity would be um, utilized. The other one is to increase participation of historically underutilized businesses who've been certified in the mentor protege program. That program is a fantastic program. However, it is not being utilized in the way that well, let's say the numbers are very low, and we want to be able for small companies who are, and the reason they're being certified is because it's an affirmative action program. However, these are small companies. State of Texas does a lot of business, spend most of its money with larger companies, and those companies can act as mentors to help our let's say our small business community grow. And then there's more that can be done together. And the third one that we have right now is also to create to increase the participation of the disadvantaged business enterprises that goes through the Texas Department of Transportation. We say Tex Dot Office of Civil Rights. So we know that there is a mentor protege program that had begun, but these are the things that the positions that we're taking and that we're going to be bringing to our legislators. But now, Miss Curry here, after we've taken surveys of our members for what it is that some of the issues or challenges that they feel that they have uh, um, obstacles with the state of Texas, now she is going to take it from here because we've summarized. We have over 300 members just in the Houston Metroplex area. Okay. Well, actually, Region 1 and 2. And so we've summarized it to ask you 4 questions that we believe would be something in addition to something that we may be able to add to our positions. So, Ms. Curry.
Good morning, everyone. I am so glad to see you all here. I'm looking forward to a wonderful exchange of information this morning. Again, my name is Angela Curry, and here is the advocate for Tri-County, and excited to be here and excited to see you here. So we sent out the survey, and we reduced it down to 4 questions. And so what we're going to do is we're going to open up in the order of people coming online today and give you a minute to sort of introduce yourself, and then 2 minutes to answer each of the questions that we sent out previously in the email. Okay. So the first, we'll start in the order with Ms. Representative Christina Morales.
Hi there.
Good morning.
Good morning. So your first question was about access to capital, I believe.
Yes, a very common theme throughout everyone, access to capital and assistance to get funding for their business. It's almost like we need that get ready to be ready support. So,
Okay, well, I love this question. My name is Christina Morales. I represent Harris County, historical Latino community, Second Ward, all the way up to North Line and a big portion of the Heights. A lot of small businesses in my district. So very passionate about helping our small business owners. And listen, as a small business owner, I've been running my business for over 30 years, and I'm always looking for access to capital as a woman of color, and it's not easy. There are several resources. The state's website has some listed. I personally have used Lift Fund. They were amazing. A CDFI that is very accessible. The loan requirements are very, very easy to work with. And I've had a very successful application process and everything. So I highly recommend that. Through the state, and I served on International Relations and Economic Development Committee. I was the vice chair. So some of the legislation that we passed was microloans through Lift Fund. So I know that there's, a few more dollars that we were able to send to Lift Fund, but also there's a disaster recovery program that was started. It is not funded yet. So it's something that we need to work on in the 88th legislative session. That will be a priority for me to make sure that this gets funded. And the person who really is a small business owner and worked on a lot of this is Janice Jucker. I know her through the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. And I highly recommend the program to any small business owner because it's taking a business class for free. So it's, it's such a value to your company, your small business, and it takes probably 3 months, 1 day a week. You have to participate in the program. You have to have skin in the game and show up every week. If you don't, they will not let you pass. But they give you a mentor, and that mentor really helps you look at your finances, but also you are face to face with folks, different lenders, and they really teach you how to apply for those loans. And you do have to go to different banks. I mean, I'm a small business owner. I just applied for a loan last year, and the first 2 banks I went to told me no, and I just kept looking, and I found one that said yes. It's different for us. We don't have a regular tax return. So you have to and make sure somebody's willing to work with all the paperwork that you have, and you'll find somebody out there who's willing to lend you money. But one other thing I want to say before I stop talking is several of the major banks, Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, and Amegy Bank. I'm friends with people who work in all three of those banks, and I know there is a huge effort to get funding out to communities of color. So it's very, very important to reach out to the banks right now while they have all this funding. I attended an event the other day where Wells Fargo announced this program with millions and millions of dollars to help small businesses. So there's money out there. You have to just keep asking for it. And there's a couple of
Representative,
yes.
I'm interrupting because we are basically very aware, but the question was, I mean, you mentioned something about Lift Fund microloans in relationships to the state of Texas.
Yes.
What is that? Can you tell us? Can you make that statement again? Because
yes, I will.
Clear.
I will share the link in the comments, okay. And there's a link to Lift Fund. So Lift Fund helps small businesses, particularly the smallest businesses, usually owned by communities of color, people of color.
Forgive me for interrupting, but you said something about the state awarded. That's what we're looking, the information.
Yes. I will share it with you. It is, I'll give you the bill number. And this went through our committee, International Relations and Economic Development. And it was to fund Lift Fund to ensure that they're out there giving out these loans to folks in the community. So it is House Bill 3271, and it's establishing the microloans programs for business by increasing access to capital.
Right. Fantastic. Thank you
so
very much. We do appreciate your participation and the information you shared.
Thank you.
We have.
Yes, so we're going to move on to the next representative this morning. We have Representative Rosenthal. Good morning. Thank you so much. Welcome. So if you want to share a little bit about yourself, and then if there's one question in particular that you want to share your answer to from the list, that would be great. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on today. And I see I am in some pretty esteemed company. So I'm just grateful to appear with these great colleagues of mine. So my name's John Rosenthal. I'm a mechanical engineer by trade, and I have the distinction of being the only mechanical engineer in your Texas State Legislature. And I left industry in 2018 to run for this office, and I defeated a long-term incumbent. I represent House District 135, which is an area of Northwest Harris County, all unincorporated area of Harris County, which means we're not technically part of the city of Houston. Like, I don't get to vote for mayor and stuff like that. So constituents in my area are heavily focused on, of course, I'm also in the heart of the Cy-Fair Independent School District. So that's major influence out here, and very close to the energy corridor. So while I'm an oil and gas engineer, so are a lot of my neighbors, engineers, skilled workers and whatnot. We also have, and I want to go straight into talking about the feedback that I get from small businesses in my area. So there's quite a number of, especially for minority-owned businesses, quite a number of hospitality-type businesses, bars and restaurants. There's a few engineering firms. There's some financial services that offer financial planning, insurance, that sort of thing. Some construction services, some cleaning services, and other types of equipment and supply companies. So there's really, quite a variety. But it seems to me like a lot of their issues overlap. So access to capital is a big deal, and inflation hitting folks is a huge deal because it just costs more to do business, and those type of impacts seem to affect our smaller businesses really disproportionately. Larger businesses probably have more capital to work with and can absorb some of those extra costs. But that also, the supply chain and access to skilled labor, to quality workers, is a real issue. So some of the things that I work on and hope to continue working on are things like training programs, increasing access to capital. There are some of these state programs that I feel are grossly underutilized, and it's hard to say that that's an accident. But if you've got funding in organizations set up for historically underutilized businesses, and those funds are, pardon me for even putting it this way, historically underutilized, I'd say there's a pattern, right? So those are areas where I feel like we could really make great strides there. We're coming into a session where we're going to have a budget surplus, and I strongly believe that money came from the people of Texas, created hardships for the people of Texas, and it should go back to the people of Texas. And helping small businesses is a great way to do that.
Thank you so much, Representative Rosenthal. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So then we'll go
We
to,
wanna
go ahead.
continue to have our, create our limits so we can get to
Oh,
everybody.
yes. So we're going to go to Representative Allen. You there?
Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
I hope most of you, because I've worked with you a couple of times, and so I hope you already know that I'm an educator by profession. That's my profession before, where I was making money. Then I got stupid and ran for the house, and now I make $7,200 a year. So I really need to start up a business and do something exciting, but I don't. And so I'm not your business person. I really am not a small business person. The only thing I have is a consulting firm, and I don't even do that anymore because it conflicts with my position as a state representative. And so I did not see the 4 questions, and so I'm going to talk about what I know. My coworkers are polished at that. Morales, you gave a great presentation on lots of avenues where you can access the money. I simply want to remind you that I did not hear the name of black banks or the ones that are really close. I did not hear Riverside Bank. And so I don't know, have anyone had any dealings with Riverside Bank? Because when I saw the president of Riverside Bank, he did. Can you encourage people to get loans because they got money during the COVID period time? And so I just really want you to concentrate on that. I don't know. And I don't know the rationale for, I do know for those persons who are not getting loans, what is the holdback? What are they saying? You may need to talk about and get a compiled questionnaire on, well, they did this, they said this is why I didn't get the loan. And we need to work on that so that you have a basis, so you can say, well, how can we change what we don't know? What we bring to the table is not good enough. So what can we change? So I'm not on the International Relations Business Committee, but I support them. My coworkers know that I support what they do. So Morales, I'll be supporting you when you bring another bill. House Bill 3271 is a very good bill, and I'm very sure I voted for it. So because I am a stickler for sticking with my people who need me. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about is there was money during the COVID. Not only was it with the Riverside Bank, which I ask you to at some point you might want to address them.
Yes.
But there's also money with other banks for the same reason. And I don't know that you how many of you applied for the money during the COVID to keep small businesses in business? And I hope you did that.
Mhm.
Because many people did get money. I know a lot of people who got money, but I think you need to access that. So I don't profess to be your expert on that, but I will support those who are, and I encourage all of you to work with those people who are there. And no, you are not late with your address, but you could work earlier to get things to us because everybody's piling on now. Everybody's having a Zoom. Everybody wants a meeting. Everybody, but we had a year and a half before this to address, and I have some people who have done that. But we need you need to bring this to the table. Somebody, so who's going to take that bill for you? Who's going to take increased participation in minorities? Who's going to take increased for the disadvantaged businesses? And so we need to organize that, and you need to work with somebody who's on that committee first. So, and
Awesome.
spread it out.
Thank you. Awesome.
Thank you so very much for that input, because definitely.
Yeah,
And
Much
yes,
needed.
thank you for being always there.
I am, and always will be.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you so much. So next on the list, we have Representative Dutton. Welcome. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning. Give us a brief introduction. And if there's one of the particular questions that we circulated out to you that you wanted to address directly, please feel free to do so. Welcome.
Well, good morning to all of you. Let me say first, I don't have the questions. I didn't see the questions.
Let me say them out loud for everyone's
Sure.
sake, so that everyone at least know what we asked. We took and put everything down into 4 questions for everyone to address. And so the first one is, are there any state resources available to assist small businesses seeking and obtaining capital? The second one is, are there special committees that small business owners can serve on? The third question was, many policies have been voted on and implemented, but which policies affecting small business are subject to change if the political leadership changes? And then in your meetings with small business owners, what issues have been the most predominant? And what current or upcoming legislation is there to address those issues? Also, are there any notable issues related to any specific industries? And then as an add-on to that question was, we know that we're having discussions around redistricting and possible challenges to the current district maps. And if there's something that you see that may come out to affect business owners here in those affected districts that have been redrawn, if there's any insight that you may have on that. So those are the questions. So feel free to provide an introduction and then address one or more of the questions here within the time slot that we have for you.
Well, let me, and with that introduction to the questions, about 15 seconds to kind of get involved in that. But let me talk about me. I'm Harold Dutton. I'm the third longest serving member in the House, behind Tom Craddock and Centonia Thompson. And I represent Northeast Houston. And let me just say this. When you're talking about access to capital, I've owned several businesses throughout my career. But when you're talking about access to capital, I think the first thing you have to talk about is, can you have a business? Because if you don't have a business, then you don't have basically what you need to begin to have access to capital, for the most part. And one of the things I did early on is back when Ann Richards was governor, I sponsored House Bill 799, which was the first bill that put in the statute the state agencies making a good faith effort to do at least 10% of the business that they do with historically underutilized businesses. That, I will tell you, when I look back at the numbers based on state agencies, I can tell you that has been a disappointment. A disappointment in terms of what the state has done in terms of making sure that we had a level playing field for women and minority-owned businesses. And we're still tackling the good old boy system
Mhm.
that still exists within the state, and so um, we're still doing that, and we can't do that without you all's help. There was a theme in the National Alliance of Business one time that said, um, if you're in business and not into politics, you won't be in business long.
Mm.
And I think that's still true today, that to the extent that you're not involved, small businesses at this point, I know most of them do what I did. You spend more time trying to run your business, and you just ignore things like politics that don't seem to make any difference to you, immediate difference at least. And so while you're trying to keep the water out the boat, you tend not to start thinking about building a new boat and having all this, because your day-to-day operations requires you to commit to being involved, almost singularly minded, in the operation of that business. And so, one of the things I'm hopeful of is that through the Tri County, um, that we get you all's help in the legislature with coming to us, not only with ideas about how we can do things better, but essentially what we need to do, because that is going to be important to us, to each of us, in terms of how we conduct ourselves. The legislature, as you well know, is a 140-day activity that generally will have about 6,000 bills or so introduced in that legislative session, and so it's pretty busy. And that's why right now is the best time, and I think um, Dr. Allen mentioned it, that people are trying to get their stuff together now because most of them know that now is the best time to do that. And sometimes you don't really do it with the members of the legislature, but you do it with their staffs. You involve their staffs to the point where their staff can get a lot of stuff done in preparation for the legislative session. And so I'm not sure that answers a lot of the questions that you have, but I did want to say that because that's on my mind, because I know when I've had a business, which I still do, um, we're always looking for capital, but that's not something that the priority list at the top of the priority list, because we'd like to have it, but too often businesses go out of business uh, looking for capital when they don't spend the time making sure that the bells and whistles and the trains run on time for the business. You tend to gear yourself more to that than you do the other. But while I'm saying that, let me close with this. I still think that it's important that um, you all come to us. Texas has over $100 billion in a budget that we do. And if you looked at it in terms of, well, how much of that money actually goes uh, into small businesses and how much goes into women and minority-owned businesses? Um, I think sometimes it's been we've had more. They've had more in the way of losses in agencies than they have had in terms of the money going into historically underutilized businesses and women and minority-owned businesses, for that matter. But anyway, I'll look forward to working with you all. I had to run out from a court proceeding that I'm in,
Thank you.
and so at 11:15 I have to get back in there in that Zoom because they told me I had to get back. But anyway, thank you all for inviting me. I will look forward to working with you as the chair of the House Public Education Committee. I can tell you one of the highest priorities we have um, is trying to do something about our CTE programs so that they function the way they should. They keep more kids in school and they provide kids the opportunity to get into a business because most of them are going to be small businesses. But to the extent that the school offers an opportunity for a student to learn air conditioning or electrician or become a plumber or a carpenter or doing all these other things, that will lead to an opportunity for that child, for that student, to become involved in a business. And so one of the things we're going to be taking a look at this session is how do we improve the CTE classes. I am a fan of saying that, well, we have some 9,000 campuses in Texas. About 3,000 of them are high school campuses. And I don't think every high school campus ought to have necessarily an auto mechanics class, for example. I think that ought to be a regional concept that we could do through perhaps even the community colleges and involving them, such that we could involve every student who would desire to do that to get involved in CTE. But again, that
Thank
provides,
you.
I think, the groundwork for getting into business, and that's going to be important to all of us. But thank you all for having me. Thank you for letting me kind of share my thoughts, even though it may not have been directly related to the question. I think certainly thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Representative Dutton. And it's about an open dialogue and exchanging ideas. So we're just starting and pitching it over the fence to see what responses that we get back. So any information that we get is much appreciated. So thank you so much. And we have Representative Jarvis Johnson.
Hello, good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
It's certainly a pleasure to be here amongst my colleagues and certainly with you guys inviting us in to be a part of this conversation, which is always necessary and needed. But I'm Jarvis Johnson, a district representative for 139. I've been in office since 2016. I currently am on appropriations and urban affairs, which are my committees. And one of the things that I've focused on, and I used to be a former city council member for the city of Houston in District B. And one of the things that I focused on as a city council member and as a state representative is how do we help small business? We have to do a much better job. Back in 2007, when Bill White was the mayor, we had got into a pretty heated debate about what the opportunities were on particular contracts. And there was one particular contract I remember distinctively, was about an automatic people mover at the Houston Airport Systems, which was in my district. And there was a 0% participation on that. And I used to always tag every ordinance that came across my table that had a 0% participation. And the conversation was centered around, well, it's a very specified field. And so therefore there wasn't a lot of real room for other businesses to be engaged. And I just thought that was absurd because it was $100+ million contract. And I said, I don't think, this particular company makes the belts, they make the bolts, they make the paint, they make all of the other small parts of that contract that we're going to be paying for. They certainly don't make all of those. So there's always plenty of opportunity. And from that, the entire unbundling of contracts began to happen in the city of Houston. And then from that, we started looking at some of the disparity in diversity that was taking place. And that moves us to where we are today in the state of Texas. When you look at historically underutilized businesses, last session, I wrote a bill that would exclude white women from historically underutilized businesses. And the reason why I wrote that bill is because they are no longer historically underutilized. When you look at the numbers, white women businesses are killing the game and have been doing so for a number of years. And so at some point, every business wants to graduate and wants to move into that prime position and no longer have to have this, we have to accept this label in order to be able to do business. Of course, that bill was stepped on, crushed, thrown in the trash and told never to come back again. But absolutely, I'll be bringing that bill back again because, again, it is when you're saying historically underutilized business, it's obvious that they're not historically underutilized. They have been historically utilized which they make up the largest portion of businesses that fall under that label. And so we're going to continue to work, because when you look at what Black businesses are doing in the state of Texas, it's hovering around 1%. Now, they'll talk all day long about, oh, we're meeting our goals. We're meeting our goals. We're doing great in meeting our goals. But you're, again, throwing white women in there. You're putting, a lot of other labels in there. But when you start looking at the disparity in diversity, you'll start to see that there are some businesses that are truly underutilized. And then that moves us to where we are in terms of funding. Funding has always been a problem for Black businesses since the dawn of Black business. Hence why so many Black businesses, when you look at places like Tulsa and other, Rosewood and other places that decided we need to do this on our own, because businesses, banks have historically looked at Black business very subjectively, without really looking into the numbers. They look at the person. And with that comes a whole lot of other subjectivity. And I think that is what has held many businesses back, including myself as a business owner. I used to own a restaurant. And when I own my restaurant, I'm depositing, close to $250,000 a month into this bank. And I go to the bank and I ask for, a loan, and they looking at me like, well, not right now. I'm thinking, I'm depositing this much money into your bank, and you're charging me money to put my money in your bank, and you're not gonna, wow. And I'm showing you I'm making money. But, and so, and that's when I got on my, my move to then go look at other banks to try to find banks that would be more willing to loan. And so it took a while, but we were able to find a bank that was able to. But the interest rates were, good Lord, to the point where I was almost like, wait, I don't know if I want to do this. So, and that goes to what we're dealing with in the state of Texas. There is money available through the federal government to provide loans to businesses. But unfortunately, there's too much subjectivity in that. Where we are today when it comes to politics and what we see is happening with the Republican Party, they have become very subjectivity in regards to who they're going to lend to. And the same way we have been historically underutilized is the same way we're historically underfunded. And that is with the bank as well. And that's why this year I want to put forth another bill that is going to deal with subjectivity. We have to remove that, because in everything that we do, we see, when Black businesses are in place, or even in the criminal justice system, how can two crimes get two different sentences from two different individuals that have the same background? And my brother Harold, who's a lawyer, understands that, sees that all the time.
How are you proposing removing the subjectivity, though? Give me an idea of what that would be.
1 + 1 = 2. If your business does A, B, C, and D, then there is no, well, we're going to go with your business because you've been in business for X amount of years, as opposed to this business that's only been in business for 3 years, but yet they've met A, B, C, and D. And so it has to all boil down to it's numbers. Numbers don't lie. People do, but numbers don't. And so what I'm trying to get to is, how do we only deal with the numbers? How do you deal with, if a business is in place, doing this, have done the audit, tax returns, so forth and so on, all your ducks in a row? There should be no reason or rhyme as to why you're not being funded by a bank or this state. And I think that has been obviously our biggest problem, is that we've allowed too much subjectivity to hold and hinder many businesses back, to the point where, it's almost like you go to a bank to get money, but it's like you got to have so much money to get money. And at that point, I'm like, well, why do I need that much money if I already got this much money? And no, So that's what makes it difficult, especially for small businesses, to be able to operate and matriculate in this system. So those are two bills that I'm going to continue to push forward. And I need to acknowledge and provide kudos to my sister, Dr. Allen, obviously for all the work that she's done in education, and then to my brother Harold, because what he said about CTE is so very important. And I wanted to clear up what he said. What I passed, my very first bill was a CTE bill that brought back vocational ed back into schools, that forced Texas Workforce Commission and TEA to get together and look at where the jobs are regionally. And when you look at where the jobs are regionally, then you create your CTE surrounding those jobs. Unfortunately, based on what my brother Rosenthal said, is that we're going to have what everybody calls a boatload. I was going to say a boatload of money. More money than
You say boatload now?
Huh? What'd you say?
Continue.
Okay.
It's okay.
I have to be careful about my vernacular sometimes, especially when it comes to talking about Republicans. I start dropping a whole lot of four-letter words, and so I'm gonna be careful. But we're gonna have a boatload of money, and that money should be utilized, number one, to further provide funding and raises for our public service workers, teachers, shoring up their pensions, making sure we give them raises. We see teachers are fleeing the industry every single day. We have to have something in place that says we're going to shore you up, not just during election year, because that's what Abbott and Lieutenant Dan does all the time. They're going to give that 13 check during the election year, but then they're going to move on. So we need to make sure we put money into investing into businesses, because that's the backbone of our country, and certainly the state. And so what we need to do is to make sure that those businesses have the employees. And so that's why we put that bill forth to look at regionally where those jobs will be in this area. Unfortunately, the state of Texas has been so slow in rolling it out, because while the bill was in place and CTE was made into law, these schools don't have the money. And they're trying to figure out, how am I supposed to implement it? How am I supposed to now do this, because TEA has not given me any more money? And so those are the things that we need to look at, is where we put this money, so that we can put money into these schools so that they can implement these vocational ed programs, so that these kids can be certified. There's so many kids that are not going to college. They can get certified. They can then start going into the workforce. They can start doing their apprenticeships. And then at some point or another, they can become their own business person. But they have all of that track record. But we have to make sure that money, and as somebody who is on appropriations, rest assured that I will be fighting tooth and nail to make sure that money is allocated properly and not given to a border wall, not given to, DPS to stop and frisk. I can go on and on about what I happen to believe that the money is going to be used for. You hear a lot of conversation. I'm about to be on a rant, but we heard a lot of conversation about Joe Biden's. Oh my God, they're going to be giving away my hard-earned tax dollars to pay down those liberal tuition loans. And I'm thinking, you know how many grants the state of Texas gives to everyone? That we give grants for everything. If you're in deer farming, do you know how much money we give to you because your deer died, because you don't really own your deer? Man, I can go on about that, poke holes in their argument all day long. But that money is utilized to help spur our economy, so that people don't have to worry about loans. They can put that money back into the economy and continue to help pay taxes and pay for things that are necessary, so our economy can keep going. But stupidity always wins out with the Republicans and how they think about how money needs to be. And I know this ain't no partisan effort, but you got a partisan dude in Jarvis on this line, and I'm gonna tell you how it is all the time. But again, I'll stick to the point. Again, those two things. And I got to give kudos to my sister Christina, because she and I worked closely together on some bills that showed that Black-Brown coalition coming together, and that can be truly successful, that we used to see in Mickey and Ben Reyes back in the day. And I'm looking forward to our coalition coming back together to fight together to make
Mhm.
sure that we can get more business and get more dollars for our communities
Right.
and for our businesses.
Representative Johnson, I had a question about CRA, Community Reinvestment. Is that governed by Texas or is that a federal type of?
That's a federal thing for the banks. So,
Okay.
you know,
So
that's how the federal government regulates the banks to make sure that they're providing monies back into those particular communities, providing loans. But again, you know, there's a way around that too. You've seen too many people open up a business in particular areas, in zoned areas, just to simply have the address, get the loan, and then go do business someplace else. But it's just a shell of an organization where they are. So, but the CRA is a federal piece.
Okay.
But the state does have money to help businesses out, though, and we got that money from the federal government. But again, there's too much subjectivity in it.
So we're here to support small business, and however, what is necessary for us to do as the advocate in supporting those small businesses, we are willing to do it. This is why we having this session. And I want also, I don't know if you're aware, but it is being taped, and it will show up on our website, posted under our podcast.
Can you blip out my cursing then? I'm sorry for cursing. Dr. Allen,
well,
forgive me.
it will
I
be
I
edited.
tried not to, but it just comes
There is
out.
an edit to it.
There is an edit. Good. Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you.
there
It'll be
is
all
an
right.
edit to it, but it will post. We are broadcasting live, and it is being taped so you have the opportunity to, when it comes on our website, we'll let you know, which is on Wednesdays after 5 p.m. And you can take the information, you can take it and utilize it as well if you need to. But it is a post, and we have a playlist, and it is on YouTube. So we'll edit what we need to. And again, we are nonpartisan. So I don't know if I mentioned this.
Not yet, but go ahead.
Okay, but we did send out, because we do have 4 regions, if you're familiar with us, and each region has 3 counties, and we sent out a request to participate in Region 1, which is Harris. It's Harris County. I'm sorry. Region 1 is Harris County, Montgomery, and Liberty counties. So we sent it out to 38 state representatives, including Senate, and 19 are Republicans, and we have no participation. 19 Democrats, and we have 6 participations, which are you, and we do appreciate that.
I wonder why those Republicans don't ever join in.
I was just gonna say, look who shows up. Look who shows up.
We did get some
We got some
responses,
responses. Yes.
but they did
Scheduling
not.
conflict.
What was their response? Like, oh, I'll be watching my grass grow on that day.
No,
It's so very
it was
important. I gotta watch
mostly
it
it
grow
was-
on a Friday morning at 10:30.
No.
It's the only time I can really watch it grow. Is that?
No.
What was most
It
of
was,
it?
that was very polite. Everybody was very responsive and because I sent out an email request and then I followed up with phone calls, and it was scheduling conflicts. We started a couple of weeks ago to pull all of this together, and it's been a busy process of getting people responding and
She's being
engaging.
polite,
Sister
right?
Kerr, Sister
She's
Kerr,
being
let me just say
politically
this.
correct.
My brother Harold Dutton is sitting in court right now, walked out of court to be on the Zoom. So I'm not going to even let that one go. Because Brother Harold was in
I
court,
said she's being
you know,
politically
and
correct.
wow.
All right.
And, you know, and let me be honest with you, just so, because we're all safe. I'm sitting in my house with COVID, not really feeling as best as I can. So at the end of the day, I ain't giving no more excuses for them, because they don't get none for us. Because when we don't, if something gonna happen that we ain't on the spot, oh my God, we're lower than life itself. And those leftist liberals, and you know, so I ain't gonna even let you do that, sister. I'm sorry. this is amongst us, so I ain't gonna let you do that. I ain't gonna let you give a pass like that.
Well,
But the message gets out. So when this gets broadcast on our website,
Yeah.
trust and believe, the message gets out.
And you can hear this live
Yes.
on radio. So
Yes.
I'm sure we've had some people that
Join
said
in.
that let's listen first,
Join
and
in,
then
not
we'll
participate.
decide.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly appreciate it because as you know, we are a working chamber of commerce.
Yes.
And it is very important to us that we support the small business community. We don't discriminate. We have members in all in many ethnic backgrounds. However, they are small businesses. They are the fuel that supplies the engine to the economic let's say landscape of the state of Texas, because we do have members in other cities, Dallas, Abilene, Lubbock, not just in the Southern District. And we do also have an international initiative. So we're taking small businesses to another level. And we call them entry level businesses. Small is a horrible word. These are people who, before COVID, had great jobs, they had opportunity, they developed skills. After COVID, they decided, what do we do next? And we have a skill that we can make money with. And those are usually the ones that have the hardest time on getting or having access. When we look at the questions and we see who the member is that asked the question, then we understand they brand new. And but they do have a skill, and they can make money, and we are here to assist them in that process. We want to assist you as legislators, lawmakers, to make in giving the opportunity for the change that needs to be in the support for small businesses. This is why we're here. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate your time. And call us up. Tell us what you need from us. And we'll be happy to start supporting that and providing that. So thank you so very much for participating. Go to our website on Wednesday and see what you did. Please, let's see what changes we made together. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so
very
much.
All
Thank
right.
you all so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.